The stranger in the dust. The wind carried dust across the dead land, sharp and dry like blades. The sun burned high above, but its light felt weak through the thick smoke that still hung over the broken valley. Once, this place had been a battlefield. Now it was only silence, ruins, and bones. A lone rider moved slowly through the dust. His horse, thin and tired, carried him across the cracked ground. The man sat tall but weary, his clothes torn, his face darkened with dirt and scars. He had nothing left, no army, no family, no home. Only this last horse that had carried him through the fire of war. His eyes searched the horizon. The land stretched far and empty, burned by weapons not made by humans. Strange marks glowed faintly on shattered rocks, proof of alien machines, proof of the war between worlds. He knew he should keep moving. He knew stopping could mean death. But something caught his eye near the wreckage of a fallen ship. There, half buried in dust, was a figure. At first he thought it was just another corpse, another soldier left to rot under the sun. But as he drew closer he saw movement, faint, fragile, like a breath struggling to stay alive. He stopped the horse, climbed down, and walked carefully through the wreck. His boots crunched on broken glass and twisted metal. Then he saw her, an alien girl, her body covered in cracked silver armor, her skin pale with a strange glow, her hair tangled with dust, her lips dry but trembling with life. She looked weak, almost gone. Yet there was something strong in her face, a silent pride, even in pain. Her eyes opened slowly, golden and bright, locking on him. She did not speak, but her gaze was sharp, like she was asking why a human had come near her. The man stood still, unsure. She was the enemy, one of those who had brought death to his people, one of those who had burned his world. He should have net away, left her there to die. That would have been easy. That would have been justice. But then he looked at his horse, his last companion, and he thought of how many times the horse had carried him through fire and storms. The animal had never abandoned him, never judged him, never hated him. Could he now abandon someone who still breathed, someone who looked at him not with hate, but with silence? The girl tried to rise, but she fell back. Her armor clanged against the stone, her body too weak to move. The man stepped forward, his shadow falling over her. He reached out slowly. His hand touched her shoulder. Her skin felt cold, almost lifeless. She flinched, but she did not fight. Her golden eyes stayed on his, still silent, still unbroken. The man sighed. He knew the choice he was about to make was dangerous. Sharing his horse meant sharing his last chance of survival, but walking away would leave a voice in his heart that would never be silent. He bent down, lifted her carefully. Her weight was lighter than he expected, fragile, almost like she was made of glass. He carried her to the horse. The animal shifted uneasily, as if it could sense the strangeness of the passenger. "Easy," the man whispered to the horse. He placed the girl on its back, then climbed up behind her, his arms steadying her weak body. She leaned against him, her head falling on his chest, still silent, still watching with half-closed eyes. The horse began to walk again, slow but steady, across the endless dust. For a while there was only the sound of hooves striking broken earth. The man felt her faint breathing. He wondered what she was thinking. Was she afraid? Did she hate him? Or was she only waiting for her strength to return? The horizon burned red with the setting sun. Shadows grew longer, stretching across the battlefield like ghosts. The air felt heavier, carrying a strange stillness. The man looked back once more, and for the first time he felt it. They were not alone. Far behind them, in the shifting dust, shapes moved, faint but real, shadows that did not belong to the rocks, figures walking slowly, silently, following. He could not see their faces, could not hear their steps, but he felt the weight of their eyes. The girl in his arms opened her eyes again, golden light shining in the fading sun. She did not speak. She only looked back at the shadows, and then she closed her eyes, as if she already knew what was coming. The man tightened his grip on the reins. His horse snorted nervously. He did not understand who or what followed them, But he knew one thing. Night was falling, and with night, something dangerous would come. The ride through silence. The night stretched wide and endless. The stars above were sharp and cold, like eyes that never blinked. The horse moved slowly through the desert, its hooves sinking into soft dust. The man sat straight, his hand tight on the reins. His other hand rested near the alien girl, steadying her weak form. She had not spoken a word since he lifted her. Not a whisper, not even a breath of thanks. She only leaned against him, her golden eyes opening and closing like a dim light. Her silence was heavier than the night itself. It pressed against him, filling the air with questions he dared not ask. Every so often she turned her head, staring into the darkness behind them. Her gaze was sharp, as if she could see what the man could not. Shapes flickered in the shadows, sometimes near, sometimes far, always silent, always watching. The man's chest grew tight. He knew they were being followed, but he did not know by what or by whom. The desert gave no answer, only silence. The horse stumbled on a rock, and the girl's head fell forward. For the first time, he saw faint marks glowing on her skin, lines like ancient letters running down her neck and arms. They pulsed softly, as though alive. The man's hand brushed against one of the glowing marks, and at once a shiver ran through him. His vision blurred for a heartbeat, and in that heartbeat he saw something. An image not his own. He saw a great hall filled with silver-armored figures, their faces hidden, their voices silent. They stood in rows, staring at a girl who stood alone in the center, the same girl now leaning against him. But in that vision she was strong, unbroken, her head high, while her sisters judged her with cold, empty eyes. Then the vision vanished, leaving only the desert and the sound of hooves. The man gasped softly. His hands shook. The girl opened her eyes and looked at him. Her lips parted as though to speak, but no sound came, only silence, heavy and sharp. He wanted to ask her who she was, what she was, why her sisters were following, but his throat was dry. His instincts told him the truth might destroy him. The horse climbed a small hill, and from the top the man looked back. Far below, in the pale light of the moon, he saw them clearly this time. Figures walking in a perfect line, their movements too smooth, too cold to be human. Their silver armor glowed faintly, like her broken suit. Their heads were lowered, their steps soundless, their eyes unseen. There were many of them, dozens, maybe more, and all of them were coming closer. The horse snorted, tossing its head nervously. The man gripped the reins, his heart pounded like a drum in his chest. He looked at the girl. She was awake now, her golden eyes fixed on the marching shadows. She did not cry, she did not tremble. Instead, she raised one hand slowly, pressing her palm against his chest. Her touch was cold, but her meaning was clear. "Keep riding." The man pushed the horse forward. The beast ran faster, its hooves cracking the ground as they fled across the endless land. The wind screamed in his ears, but behind them, the silence of the sisters never broke. They followed like ghosts, not running, not slowing, always the same distance away. The man's mind raced. Were they hunting her, protecting her, or coming to kill them both? The alien girl leaned forward suddenly, pressing her head against his shoulder. Her hand tightened on his chest, and for the first time he heard something, a sound so faint he almost thought he imagined it, a whisper, soft and broken, in a voice that was not human. "Dawn," she breathed. Only one word. The man froze. What did it mean? Dawn would come soon, less than an hour away. Did dawn bring safety or death? The girl's golden eyes closed again, her strength fading. Her silence returned, leaving him with only that one word. The desert stretched ahead like an endless ocean of dust. The man urged the horse forward, but in his heart he knew. Whatever was coming, it would arrive with the first light of day. And the sisters, those silent shadows, were not following to protect. They were following to finish what had already begun. The dawn's betrayal. The first light of dawn spilled over the horizon, cold and pale. The desert that had been black under the stars now glowed faint orange. The man pulled his horse to a slow stop on a rocky ridge. His chest heaved, His eyes searched the horizon. The girl was still weak in his arms, her golden eyes half closed, but as the light touched her skin, the strange marks on her body began to glow brighter, faint symbols that pulsed like living fire. The horse shifted nervously. Its ears twitched, its muscles tense. The man knew why. Behind them, the silent march had ended. Now they were here. Figures stepped out from the misty dust below, rising like shadows given flesh. They came in silence, armored from head to toe in silver, moving as one, their faces hidden, their weapons long and sharp. The sisters, they spread out in a wide circle, surrounding the man, the horse, and the girl, their eyes invisible, but their presence heavy, crushy. Like judgment itself had arrived. The man's hand went to his side, to the worn blade he still carried. He knew it was useless against them, but his instinct told him to fight if they struck. The girl suddenly stirred. She pushed herself weakly upright on the horse. Her golden eyes burned now, brighter with dawn's light. She lifted one trembling hand, palm outward, as if to hold them back. The sisters stopped, their heads tilted slightly, all of them staring at her, not at the man, not at the horse, only at her. For a moment the desert was frozen. The man could hear only the horse's breathing and his own heartbeat. Then one of the sisters stepped forward. Her weapon gleamed, catching the first fire of the sun. She raised it slowly and pointed it directly at the man. The horse snorted, stomping its hooves. The man's heart pounded. He braced for death, his blade half drawn. But before the strike could fall, the alien girl slid off the horse and stumbled forward. She placed herself between the sister's weapon and the human. Her voice finally broke the silence. A sharp sound, a single word in her own tongue. The sisters froze, every head turned toward her. The desert air trembled with tension. The man could not understand the word, but he knew what it meant. Defiance. The sisters began moving their hands in strange signs, a silent language, their motions sharp, their gestures filled with anger, confusion, disbelief. The man watched, his body tense. His eyes flicked from one silent face to another. He realized something terrifying. They were not here to rescue her. They were here to erase her, her silence, her weakness, her choice to accept help from a human. These were crimes in their eyes. To them, she was no sister anymore. She was a traitor. The alien girl turned back to the man. Her golden eyes burned with a strange fire. She pressed her hand against his chest again, stronger this time. Her lips moved, whispering in a low, broken voice. "They will kill us both." The man's blood turned cold. The sisters closed the circle tighter, weapons ready, dust swirling around their feet. Their silent march was over. Now came the judgment. But the girl did not step aside. She stood firm in front of him, her small frame against the cold line of silver armor. For the first time since the war began, the man felt something stir deep inside. Not fear, not anger, but a strange, unshakable certainty. He would not let them take her. The desert air grew heavy. A storm of light built in the girl's glowing marks, crackling faintly. The sisters' weapons lifted as one. The man raised his own blade, though it was nothing against their power. His horse screamed, stamping the earth. The moment of betrayal had come, the truth in her eyes. The desert seemed to hold its breath. The sisters stood in a perfect circle, their silver armor shining in the pale dawn, their weapons aimed, their bodies motionless. Only the wind moved, carrying dust between them. The human gripped his old blade tightly. His heart pounded, but he did not step back. If this was to be his end, he would face it with open eyes. The alien girl stood in front of him, her golden eyes blazing. Her cracked armor hung loose, and the strange glowing marks across her skin pulsed like fire. She raised both her hands, her voice breaking the silence again, a word sharp and heavy, filled with defiance. The sisters flinched, their heads turning sharply toward her. Their hands began to move, signing their silent language, fast and angry. The man could not understand their words, but he understood their meaning. They accused her, they judged her, they condemned her, they Girl turned her head slightly, just enough for the man to see her face. Her eyes met his, and in them he saw the truth. These were not rescuers. They were executioners. Her own blood, her own kin, had come not to save her, but to erase her for weakness, for taking help from a human, for breaking their sacred silence. The man's grip tightened on his blade. His throat was dry, but before he could speak, she touched his hand, her fingers cold but steady. She whispered in broken words, her voice trembling. "They are not sisters. They are chains." The man's chest clenched. He looked at her, this fragile figure marked by strange light, judged for simply surviving, hated for daring to accept kindness. Her eyes filled with pain, but not for herself. For him, he realized she had stepped in front of him not only to save herself, but to shield him from their wrath. The sisters raised their weapons higher. The circle closed tighter. Dust swirled. The horse neighed wildly. And then something happened. The girl's glowing marks flared brighter, too bright to ignore. The sisters froze, their heads tilting back. A ripple of fear passed through them, fear hidden but real. The human felt the light burn against his skin, not painful but powerful. It was as if she carried a storm inside her, a storm chained for too long. He whispered to her, his voice low. "What are you?" Her golden eyes turned to him, shimmering with tears and fire. "Exile," she breathed, "chosen to die. But you carried me. You gave me life. So now, I choose." Her words were broken, but their meaning was sharp as a blade. The sisters took a step forward, their weapons ready. But the girl raised her arms. Her voice rang out again, louder this time, filled with power. The desert itself seemed to shake. The light from her marks exploded outward, casting long shadows across the sand. The sisters staggered, their silence broken, their perfect line faltering for the first time. The man shielded his eyes from the glow. His heart raced. He could feel the choice standing before him, fight beside her and be pulled into a war he could never understand, or turn away and let her die alone. But when he looked into her eyes, he knew his answer. Her truth was clear. She was more than just a fallen alien. She was rebellion itself. The horse stamped the ground. The desert wind screamed. The sisters steadied themselves again, weapons glowing as they prepared to strike. The girl stepped closer to the man, her golden eyes burning like fire. "If you stand," she whispered, "we fight together. If you fall, I fall too." The circle of sisters moved as one, their weapons aimed for the kill. The desert silence broke into a storm. The man raised his blade, weak and old but steady in his hands. The girl's marks flared one last time, brighter than the dawn itself. The battle was about to begin. The last ride. The desert trembled. The circle of silver-armored sisters closed in, their silent weapons glowing like cold fire. Their steps were slow, perfect, without fear, without mercy. The human stood tall, his old blade trembling in his hands. He knew it was nothing compared to their alien steel. But he also knew he would not step back. Not now. Beside him, the alien girl's marks blazed like living lightning. Her cracked armor burned with faint heat. Her golden eyes glowed brighter than the dawn itself. She had been hunted, chained, condemned, but not broken. The sisters struck first. They moved as one, fast and deadly. A storm of blades and light. The horse screamed, rearing up. The human swung his blade wildly, sparks flying as it clashed against alien metal. The impact nearly tore the sword from his hand. One sister lunged at him from the side, a strike meant to end him. But the alien girl threw out her hand, and light exploded from her marks. A wave of force knocked the sister back into the dust, armor cracking. The human gasped. His heart raced. He had never seen power like this, not even in war. But the sisters did not stop. More came forward, faster, deadlier. Their silence broke into a strange, inhuman hiss, anger, betrayal, wrath. The man fought with all his strength. His blade cut one down, his horse kicked another aside. But there were too many, far too many. Then the girl screamed, her first true voice, sharp as thunder. Her body shone like fire. The marks across her skin burst into blazing streams of light. They coiled around her arms, her chest, her face, transforming her. For a moment the sisters stopped. Their perfect discipline faltered. For the first time they hesitated. The girl stepped forward, no longer weak. Her golden eyes burned with fury. Her voice rose, trembling but unbroken. "You will not erase me," she cried. Her words carried across the desert like a storm. "You will not erase us." The sisters answered with fury. Their circle broke into a charge, dozens rushing at once. The human pulled the horse's reins, his voice raw. "Ride!" The horse leapt forward, carrying both man and girl through the storm. Dust rose, blades clashed, light burned. The desert became chaos. The man swung his blade again and again, each strike fueled not by strength but by sheer will. The girl raised her hands, and light carved paths through the enemy. Blinding beams ripped through armor, sending sisters crashing into the sand. Still they came, endless, unstoppable. The man's arm grew weak, his breath short, his vision blurred. But he did not stop. His horse ran, his blade rose, the girl's light burned. Together they fought as one. At last, the girl placed her hand on his chest again. Her voice shook. "Enough. If we stay, we die. But if we run, they will follow forever. Only one path now." The human looked into her eyes. He saw her truth. She would burn herself to save him. "No," he growled. "We ride together, till the end." The horse thundered across the ridge. Dawn burst full over the desert, light spilling across blood and dust. The sisters chased, their weapons raised. The girl's body flared with blinding power. The marks on her skin cracked with light too strong to contain. She leaned close, whispering her last words into his ear. "Hold tight, human. You carried me when I was nothing. Now I will carry you." The desert exploded with light. A shockwave tore across the land. The sisters were thrown back, their silver armor shattered, their silence broken into screams that echoed across the sky. When the dust cleared, the ridge was empty. Only the sound of the horse's hooves echoed far away, carrying its riders into the horizon. The sisters rose from the ruins, broken but alive. They stared into the distance at the fading light. Their silence returned, but now it was not victory. It was fear. The human held the girl tightly as the horse ran. Her golden eyes dim but still burning, she looked at him one last time, and with a faint smile whispered the words that would haunt him forever. "They will come for us all." The desert wind carried her words into the dawn, a warning, a promise, a truth too heavy to forget. And so began the last ride, not of one man and one horse, but of a bond that defied an empire, a bond that turned betrayal into fire, silence into rebellion, and dawn into war.